offering all our collective love at the divine lotus feet of Bhagwan Shri 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 Satya Sai Baba Varu. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
You were confused whether I said good morning or God morning, right? Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
Let's turn this beautiful, the sun is shining outside. Brother just illumined all of you, enlightened all of us. It's such a great pleasure and an honor to be part of this Youth Day festival in South Africa. I am humbled and extremely grateful to Bhagwan to turn back into my youthful life. I just turned 36 years old. So I am qualified young adult at the edge. And I also want to offer my gratitude to Brother Subri Naidu and Brother Rubin for inviting me to be part of this incredible, inspiring offering at Bhagwan's lotus feet, commemorating the centennial of the advent of the Avatar. Hridakashe sadabhantam Shantam Anandarupinam Jnana Bhanumaham Vande Sadgurum Satyasayinam. The one who is shining in the sky of our hearts as the effulgence radiant as the divine sun, and who brings peace at all levels, at the individual, creation, cosmic levels. To that Sadguru, Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba, we all offer our loving gratitude. I am very inspired by the youth of South Africa. The reason why I am here in South Africa is to participate in the wedding of one of the lovely youth of this country. And it is not a coincidence that Bhagwan said, not just wedding of an individual, you should celebrate my love and glory, what's called Loka Kalyanam. And therefore, I conclude this trip to South Africa with Bhagwan's grace, 15 satsangs in 22 days. 15 satsangs in 22 days, and the last satsang is this incredible festival to talk to all of you, the youth. I am very inspired by the youth and this generation. Many of them have not come in physical contact of Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba, but still you are actually more blessed than those who were in physical contact with Satya Sai Baba. Because it is very easy to be inspired when the person is in front of you than to be inspired by his divine, cosmic, universal presence, not physical presence. So therefore, I must congratulate you. I must congratulate you that you are actually more blessed, that you are connected to this incredible, divine, cosmic phenomenon in the history of the universe called Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba. The word Bhagavan, please remember this. Bhaga means light. Van means the one who gives wisdom. Bhagavan actually in English means light and wisdom. Bhagavan does not actually mean God. Bhagavan means Bhaga. The word Bhaga comes in its root from Bharga. And in the Gayatri mantra, you invoke this effulgence as Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi. We meditate upon that divine, life-sustaining, resplendent effulgence. May that illumine our intellect. That is the meaning of Gayatri mantra. I'll say it in English, so that when you understand the mantra in English, when you chant it, you actually connect to the meaning of the mantra. The mantra in English means, may we meditate upon that divine life-sustaining, resplendent effulgence, pervading the gross, the subtle and causal, may that illumine all of our intellects. So what happens when your intellects are illumined? Bhagavan says very beautifully, if you walk away from the light, you will follow your shadow. If you walk away from the light, you will follow your shadow. You are all tracking? No, I am not talking philosophy. If you are not tracking, please raise your hand. It's very simple. No philosophy. I am not here to preach or teach you. We are here to connect together. We have to connect together. If that connection is not there, we are disconnected. Connection is the most important thing, like Wi-Fi. See how much we struggle in our lives when there is no Wi-Fi connection. Similarly, this Wi-Fi is wisdom that is invited for individuals. So as individuals, we have to connect it to this wisdom together. Not first individually and then together. So what we are talking about, this phenomenon of Gayatri Mantra, is to invoke this effulgence. And if you are walking away from light, you are following your shadow. When you turn towards light, the shadow follows you. So when we march together, Siyahamba Kupaneni Kwenkos, Siyahamba Kupaneni Kwenkos, Siyahamba, Siyahamba, Siyahamba Kupaneni Kwenkos. We are marching in the light of God, and we are marching towards the light of God. So Bhagavan, Bhaga, first means light. The one who provides this light. And that light, when it is provided, what happens? When there is light, there is no fear. So the youth should be first fearless. You should be fearless. What is fear? F for false, E for evidence, A for appearing as or real. False evidence appearing as real, this is fear. So when there is light, when there is no light and there is darkness or no clear light, you see a rope on the road and you will mistake it as a snake. But the moment light comes, the fear disappeared because you can clearly see the rope, not a snake. So when you invoke Bhagavan in your lives, the first thing that he will do is illumine your intellect so that there is no fear. And where there is no fear, there is bliss, there is happiness, there is ananda. So Bhaga, remember, Bhaga first means invoking.
Light.
Hello, you are listening to me? No, yeah. Invoking
Light.
the light. And the second aspect of it is wisdom. This is the real purpose of Bhagavan's avatar. He did not come, brothers and sisters, to establish a religion in his name or in any other name. He has come to teach us who true we are, not who we think we are and what others think who we are. So the real purpose of Bhagavan, and he has not gone anywhere, he is very much present when you connect to him in this context of bringing light and illumining our intellects. And once this intellect is illumined, you can see clearly the path. You can see clearly the path. Unfortunately, this Air India accident that happened, that taken away 250 plus lives, the same thing happened when Kanishka Air India accident happened in Canada a few decades ago. And when Bhagavan gave an interview, and there was a mother along with a child in the interview room, and Swami was answering every single detailed question to this small girl. Everybody in the interview room was surprised. Why is he paying so much attention to this little girl? And he gave her a pocket-sized picture of his. And then she was asking, should I frame it? And he says, no, you don't need to see that much level of detail. Where should I place this picture? She was asking, oh, you should put it on the windowsill, and when the sun shines, you can see me clearly. And everybody was, why is Swami paying attention to this little girl, answering every single question to the detail? And after the interview was over, while this was happening, the mother sitting next to this girl was sobbing, crying, And when the interview was over, Swami said, that girl's father died in the Kanishka accident, and she had nobody to ask all these questions. So she is asking me all these questions. Look at the father's love day after Father's Day. I am remembering this. How much love of a father Bhagavan shows to this little girl answering every question. And then Swami said, if only one person on that flight was chanting Gayatri Mantra, many lives would have been saved. So that is the power of Gayatri Mantra. Why? Because it eliminates fear. It brings this life-sustaining energy to all of us. And this light, you see, will be at different levels. And again, quoting Bhagavan, Bhagavan says, if there is a room and there is a 60-watt bulb, the effulgence of that light bulb can only fill that room, not beyond that. If there is full moonlight, you can see the beautiful aspect of the earth around you or the landscape around you, but the vision is not clear. Right? In moonlight you still cannot see clear. But if there is sunlight, there is absolutely no question of error. Everything is crystal clear. So my request to all the youth here is, you have the sun, not one sun, Koti Surya Samaprabha. 10 million suns of radiance is present as this Bhagavan. Don't go to other gurus. Don't go to other torchlights, room lights, moonlights. Stay with the 10 million suns radiance. There is no confusion, and you will be able to see clearly in our lives. Do not believe in any body, because Bhagavan is not a body. Bhagavan is the divine himself. Bhagavan himself said he is not the body. What he said, Dehamu pancha bhautikamu, Dehamu kulaka tappadeppudu, Dehi niramayundu, Ganudimpaka Dehiki chavu puttukala moha nibandhanala mudralu levu, Nizambu chuda, aa Dehiye Devadevudu, Madintalapaga Atmarupudai. For those of you who don't know Telugu, I think it's most. Bhagavan said, I am not the Deha. Deha means body. He said, I am the Dehi, the indweller. As long as you know who you are inside the indweller, which you don't even know who you are, I guarantee you that. If you know who you are, you will be sitting in the chair. Not in the blue chairs. So who you really are, Bhagavan is always pointing us. Please go inside. I am inside you. I am your indweller. I am your indweller. When you rely on the indweller, from dependence, you get independence. Independence is not some country getting independence. Dependence on the indweller is independence. And then you will be in tuition. Are you connecting the words? Yeah, I see some faces are smiling, the others are wondering what is he talking about. I have no clue. Is he talking English or what language is he talking? All these words that we use very commonly in our vernacular, but we never really connect it to the true meaning behind those words. Independence is freedom. Then you will be in tuition. And what is this tuition? Constantly, if you have a coach with you all the time, And this coach, how many of you play sports here? Raise your hand. I'm not asking the people in the back, only you. How many of you don't play sports? Raise your hand. Here, youth. Ayyo Rama. Oh my God. See, long time ago, when I was a C-level executive in a corporation, they send you to these corporate development workshops. Because you are in this accelerated path of development. They want you to learn as much as possible so that you can be as much a slave to the company as well. So I was fortunate to be in a corporate training session in which Phil Jackson, I don't know how many of you playing sports even know that name, that shows my age. Phil Jackson was the basketball coach for Chicago Bulls. And he was the coach when Michael Jordan, one of the historical basketball players in the game itself, and he was the coach for Michael Jordan. So during the break session, I asked Phil Jackson, Phil, I have a question for you. He said, yes. So when you step out of the court during a timeout or a break, what will you tell Michael Jordan? You say, oh man, you are so great, you showed 35 points today. By the third quarter already, you must be such a great player. What do you tell Michael Jordan? And then he said to me a shocking thing. He said, no. I tell Michael Jackson how many points he missed. Not tell him how many points he scored. I will point out to him, here was an opportunity in the game. You could have placed a 3. A shoot for a 3 points on the board. You could have placed a 2 point. You missed this, you missed here. I said, oh my God. As a coach, it's my duty to make sure that the player there is scoring as many points as possible. So there is no point in complimenting him how great he was. As a coach, the coach always tells you where you failed, not where you succeeded. That was such a beautiful lesson for me. By the way, just for clarity here, I am not a Sathya Sai Baba student. I did not get raised in a Sathya Sai family. And I only became Swami's devotee after I went to United States of America, which is almost 40 years ago. Much more age than many of the people here. So I have been in the United States for 40 years. I became Swami's devotee only after my child, my daughter started attending SSC classes, Bal Vikas. That's how Swami was kind enough to enter into my life, through my daughter, who taught me how to love and how to have trust and faith in Swami. As a 5-6-year-old girl, when I was used to driving back her from Bal Vikas, and I was never going to Sai Center, I'll drop my daughter and go to see cowboy games, football. And she will tell me, oh, today Swami was sitting in the chair and he was blessing all of us. I said, what Swami is sitting in the chair? I thought this Swami is in India. When did he come to United States? No, you don't understand. Swami always comes and sits in the chair as soon as we say the first Om. This is my 6-year-old daughter. I said, some people are brainwashing this kid. She's going cuckoo. I was worried as a father, I said, I started going to the Sai Center, and there was no Swami sitting in the chair. I seen the empty chair. I said, where did you see this Swami? I don't see any Swami, it's an empty chair. No, Father, you have to have the trust and the faith. He's present there. Sure enough, one time in Global Akhand Bhajan, in the Akhand Bhajan, when the kids were singing, and my girl was singing Harashiva Shankara Shashanti Shekhara, from Swami's palm in Dallas Sai Center, the famous picture of Swami sitting in the chair with the Vrindavan Ramesh Hall picture. Akshatas came from Swami's hand and fell on the kids sitting in the front. Then I said, oh my God, that's not a picture. There's somebody actually in. There is a cosmic form that is in the chair. So long story short, when this incident happened with Phil Jackson, I came home. I went straight into my altar room, put my head on Swami's feet, and said, Swami, from today onwards, you will be my Phil Jackson. Life changed after that. Every single night from that point of time, Before I sleep, I offer the whole day like the game I have played. You understand? Every day you are playing a game. Life is a game. And when you are playing this game, you don't know how many times you had wrong thoughts, how many times you said wrong words, how many times you did wrong deeds. Once you make him the coach, I promise you, he will be the fantastic coach in your life. Not to compliment you, oh fantastic bhajan today, not like that. He'll tell you, here you did not think straight. Here your words were inappropriate. Here you did not act right. Never any compliment. Always telling what is wrong. That's what a coach does. So you, my humble request to you, don't look at anybody else in your life. Trust Swami as your coach in life. What Swami told me, place the trust in me as your coach, but love everybody else. Instead you trust everybody else and you love me? No. You trust me, but you love everyone. Because you trust in him, it doesn't mean that you ignore the people around you. Because he is also shining through them. And therefore, once this comes through, what will happen to your life? Every thought of yours will be perfect score. Every word of yours will be perfect score. Every action of yours will be perfect score. And you keep increasing your game, not playing against others, but playing against yourself. You make your mind and you keep playing with your mind. One young adult asked me recently in a satsang, Uncle, I have this problem. I'm addicted to this video game. I cannot stop playing. I want to stop playing, but I cannot stop playing. I'm constantly playing. What should I do about it? I asked this boy, are you playing the game or is the game playing you? Are you playing the game or is the game playing you? If you are playing the game, what you will say is, next 20 minutes I'll play the game. And after that you say, hey game, stop. I'm done with you, I'm going to do something else. But if the game is playing you, you will never stop. So don't let your senses play you. Don't let your mind play you. You play the mind and you play the senses, just like the apps on your iPhone. Update your apps. But don't keep on opening the same app all the time. You want a crazy fellow or what? Hello? Huh? Don't let the senses and the mind play you. You play your mind and senses. And when you start doing that, brothers and sisters, life becomes real fun. You will be having, there are only 3 things all of us need in our lives. Only 3 things, not more than that. First is time. Second is energy. Third is money. That's it. How beautifully Swami said in a discourse, how much money you need? Somebody asked Swami, how much money I need? You know what he answered? It's like such an incredible answer. When I heard that, I said, oh Swami, only you can do this in this world. He said, if your shoe size, what's your shoe size? Huh? Are you sure? Your shoe looks like you're confused. 10, right? Okay. If I give you 12 size, would you be comfortable? Okay. If I give you 8 size, you will be comfortable? No. What do you need? Huh? What's that? 10. Okay. So he said, you should also calibrate the wealth you need based on your needs, not based on your greed. If your shoe size is 10, you cannot get a 7 and survive, or you can get a 12 and walk comfortably. So therefore, money is important. It is important for you to lead your life and what is required for your life. Energy, there is no limit to energy. Ask Swami to give as much energy, in fact, more energy. No energy, only energy. And then the most important thing is time. Because as youth, the only thing you need is really time. You have lot of energy, you have lot of time. If you are blessed enough, you have parents and family that support you, you don't even really need to earn money. But if you have to earn money, you have to earn money to pay for your tuition or whatever it is. But what you need is really time. And you go and ask the younger, hey, what happened? You didn't come to the service today. Uncle, I don't have time. I said, uncle, you don't have, what time is something you pull from your pocket to give me? Huh? Is it something, a commodity? Hey, my hand is hurting, put it down. So, time is something, it's not a commodity. I asked you, give me a rand, you will pull the rand and give me. But if you say, do you have time? He said, no, I have no time. Time is not a commodity. How do you get time? How do you make time? How do you create time? Enada?
You make space or you make, if you have other plans, you can try and make space for it into a different day or a different month, and then you can make space to go something.
He is my constant companion in all the satsangs. This fellow, he attended so many satsangs. Next youth festival, call him as a speaker, okay? Please. He is ready to give discourses, okay? Now, this is an incredible thing, right? So one time I was fortunate enough to travel with, again shows my age, with a great tennis player called Pete Sampras. How many of the old people must have, older people would have heard? Pete Sampras. I was sitting next to Pete and I had a question for him. I said, Pete, when you're playing this tennis game, this Boris Becker guy is serving you, the ball is coming at 100 miles per hour. If I am in your space, I wouldn't even see the ball. Where did it go? Where did it land? But you are incredible. You are able to not only return the ball, but place it in his court and even win the game. How do you do that? How do you do that? Hey, no. Only when I ask a question, you should. So, then you see the energy. He's listening everything. He's like imbibing everything. So, then he said, when I asked him, how do you see the ball? And then he said, for you, the ball size is this, the tennis ball size is this. For me, the tennis ball size is this. For you, it is coming at 100 miles per hour. For me, it is coming at 10 miles per hour. Now you understand? And then that night, Swami came and told me this, like the Phil Jackson story. Swami said, slow down your thoughts. When you slow down your thoughts, you will become Pete Sampras. You can see each thought this big. And most of the time you are acting before you know that a thought came. You understand? Many of us do something or say something and then we say, oh my God, how did I not think about that? Isn't it? We have reversed. We first act and then later we think. But Swami said, if you are able to slow down your thought before it becomes a word, before it becomes an action, you will think first and then only you will say something and then only you will act on something. That is what Pete Sampras does, he said. So instead of tennis ball, he used thought as an example. Then obviously I had to ask Swami. And then he said, when you do that, you will have a lot of time in your life. 24 hours will become 3 days for you. And I said, oh man, Swami, this is incredible. How do I do that? How do you do that? Do you sit down and focus on your breath to do meditation? Start doing that. He said, start focusing on your breath. And with every breath, you have to basically ask the question, am I focusing on the breath or is some thought coming, another thought will come. You say, oops, no, pay attention, let it go. Bring the focus back to your breath. And then when you start doing that, there is a incredible correlation between your breathing and your thought. The more aware you become of your breathing, the more aware you will become of your thought. In fact, there are only two things moving in all of us. The first is the thought, the second is the breath. So when we do meditation, when we pay attention to our own breathing, this is the reason why Bhagavan has created this incredible 9-point code of conduct, brothers and sisters. The essence of how to live a spiritual life is in the 9-point code of conduct. And it starts with individual daily meditation and prayer. Then it goes to your family. Then it goes into community. Then it goes into the universe. Which organization in the world is blessed to have such kind of simple guidance from Bhagavan? Only 9 points to remember and lead our lives. SAI. Service, adoration, and illumination. So now, I gave you two things. One is light and the other is wisdom. For wisdom, who do you need? I'll give you a clue. It starts with the letter C. Coach. So make Bhagavan coach. Slow down your thoughts. And when you slow down your thoughts, one time what happened when the indoor stadium opened in Puttaparthi, Bhagavan went to inaugurate that place. And the whole place was filled, the indoor auditorium. They were playing a basketball game. And Swami is there, of course, utter silence, pin drop silence, right? You can even hear a pin drop. That's how silent it is. And so there was utter silence and they were playing the game. And then Swami looked at his boy and said, "Sala nice ga undi kada?" He asked in Telugu. "It's too noisy, no?" And of course, what will the boy say? "Yes, Swami." Then he said, "You are paying attention to the sound of the ball. I am paying attention to the silence in between the ball sounds." Are you catching this? In the world, we are always paying attention to the noise. Bhagavan is paying attention to the silence between two sounds. When you start paying, and if you think each sound is a thought dropping in your consciousness, that's the last stage of guy playing video game. Then you have no space between thoughts. You have to create space between the two thoughts. And when you create that space between the two thoughts, you will have incredible peace of mind. Otherwise, the mind is in pieces. So pay attention to these simple practices. You don't need to do meditation all day or silent sitting. Just 2 minutes only. I promise you, 2 minutes only every day. Just focus on your breath. Only 2 minutes. And if you don't have anything else to do, and the mind is playing the game with you, tell the mind, let's focus on breath. Then you will have lot of time. You will have lot of energy, because your energy is not sucked into wasteful processes, wasteful thinking, wasteful actions. And then you have time, you have energy, and money is just coincidental. What's the shoe size? 10, okay, very good. Remember the shoe size. Don't live like a pauper. Live respectfully. Make sure that you have enough money and enough resources to lead your life comfortably. But do not suffer from happiness. And when we follow these principles, we will have this incredible aspect of Bhagwan's presence in our lives, not as a 5'3" afro-haired Indian dude. He will be present in your life as a light and the wisdom. And when there is light and the wisdom, the light helps you become fearless because everything is crystal clear. And when you have wisdom, you will be able to make the right choices in life. Because what it will do, it will tell you, hey, this is real, this is unreal, this is right, this is wrong. Now, as a youth, you will enter into so many conflicts in life. And you want to do something, but you don't know whether it is right or wrong. How do I get guidance? So, I ask this question. By the way, everything that I am sharing is nothing to do with the physical form of Bhagwan. This is the Bhagwan inside me as the light and the wisdom. That is the most important phenomenal experience. It's much more profound than the physical form of Bhagwan. Of course, physical form of Bhagwan is incredible. It's the most astounding thing that has happened in the history of humanity. The Shiva and Shakti coming together in a human form. But he did not come in human form to show that he is God. He has come in human form to establish an ideal to live by, not to be worshipped as an idol. Understand the difference between idol and ideal. What is the difference? Okay. Idol has O, ideal has A. Idol has O, ideal has A. The O is idol, you are always worried about others. Ideal is you will start worrying about all. And therefore, Bhagwan's principle is say, don't worship Rama as an idol. Look at the Rama's character as the ideal. That is truth and dharma. So I asked Swami, I read in Swami's, one of the books of Swami, I believe it is Atma Ramam or Ramakatha Raswani, I can't recollect exactly. By the way, this body never read any books outside of Satyasai literature. Not a single book this body has read other than Bhagavan's Vahinis and discourses and other books he read. That in itself is the essence of all the scriptures put together. So Swami gave me a beautiful example from Ramayana in that book. Rama was going to the forest. Stay with me just 2 minutes. How much time? 5 minutes, okay. We'll conclude with this because it's a very important thing. It's a very important thing for the youth. How do we address conflicts in our lives? Because you will be facing a lot of conflicts in your life. Most of you go to the Sai Center because your parents are pushing you. But from that you have to turn into, you have to inspire the parents to come to the Sai Center. I was blessed that Swami gave me such a child. Her name is Gayatri, by the way. If she listens to this video, she'll be scolding me. Why you are talking about me? So, Sumantra was the minister of Dasharatha. And he was taking Sri Rama to the forest in the chariot. And then Dasharatha was shouting from the back, Sumantra, stop the chariot, stop the chariot. Rama is telling Sumantra, Sumantra, please, keep going, don't stop the chariot. And then Sumantra asks Rama, Rama, I am the minister, and my king is calling me from the back to stop the chariot. When I come back, the king will ask, hey, you are my minister. I was asking you to stop the chariot. Why did you not stop the chariot? If Dasharatha asked that question, what should be my answer? Rama said, tell him that you did not hear him. Immediately, what do you think? Same thing I also thought. Sumatra asking Rama, Rama, you are the embodiment of Satya, the truth. You are asking me to lie to my king. And then you know this incredible thing that Swami writes in that book. Rama tells Sumantra, the person who is calling from the back is not the king. The person who is calling from the back is the father who is in agony that his son is going to the forest. Your duty is to listen to the king, not to the father who is in agony. Therefore, you did not listen to the king. You only heard a father asking you to stop the chariot. What a beautiful example. Are you all connected to this? Yeah. So, even in the context of, this is what Swami taught me, when you are doing the work also in the organization, the first question you have to ask is, will it follow and please Bhagwan's love and his principles? If it does not, don't pay attention to the emotion of others. Then you will get into commotion and then you will be demoted. You have to listen to the consciousness, and Swami will guide as the coach. What is real, what is unreal, what is right, what is wrong. And we will close this session with one beautiful message that's a lines, prayer that Bhagwan has written to the youth, to his students. O Lord, take my love and let it flow in fullness of devotion to Thee. O Lord, take my hands and let them work.
Incessant.
No, most of you know, so please say it with you. O Lord, take my soul and let it merge in work with Thee. O Lord,
Take my everything.
take my mind and thoughts and let them be in tune with Thee. O Lord, take my everything and let me be an instrument. May Bhagwan bless all of you to be incredible instruments, perfect instruments to love all and to serve all with service, adoration and illumination. Jai Sai Ram.